Are we gay panicking?
Gig, and I'm gay.
Good.
So,
We're live gay panicking.
Those two things are happening. Jeez.
And I have the panic tome. We're so ready to go. I do.
I guess I could have grabbed mine in preparation for this, but I just didn't.
The gay panic manual, if you will.
It's
and
upstairs.
We know you will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of Gay Panic. My name is Joseph, and today I'm going to say that I am a parade of horribles because today was just one thing after another of chaos, and I just need a nap and tequila.
My name is Ben, your other host, and if I were a book today, I would probably be something by Henry Miller, because I feel very chaotic and unhinged, much like anything by Henry Miller. You listened to Song of Achilles.
I did. I listened to Song of Achilles. I listened to it twice. I do want a physical copy.
Always the audiobook.
Has not been opened. It is pristine mint condition.
Right. For the first one day when you sell it on eBay.
Yeah. You never know. Maybe someday when I meet Madeline Miller and she signs it for me. Because this whole project is just a long con to meet the authors that I like. So,
hell yeah, it's a long campaign. You could call this podcast our Trojan horse, if you will.
We are talking about Song of Achilles. As you alluded to in the last episode, I love classics and I love
coming
history.
in hot with this.
And I spent a lot of my time in my 33 years of existence learning about ancient history and reading classics. For those of you who think that the story of Song of Achilles is following to the T the story of the Iliad, you are mistaken. Fun fact, Achilles does not die in the Iliad.
But do they imply that he died? Does he just...
Nope.
What?
So I had forgotten this because it's been 18 years since I had read the Iliad. The Iliad ends when Hector's body is returned to Priam.
So there's no Trojan horse in the Iliad either?
There is no Trojan horse in the Iliad.
Now, is it in the Odyssey? Because the Odyssey is kind of a sequel.
Vaguely referenced by Odysseus in the Odyssey that there was something to do with a big wooden horse. Which
is hilarious because that's high key how Madeline Miller references it too. So there's one sentence that's and then there was the horse and you know the rest.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
We don't get the death of Achilles and the Trojan horse until Virgil writes the Aeneid. And that's when we get the myth about Achilles being shot by the arrow, the Achilles tendon thing. That Thetis dipped him in the river Styx, that whole thing. That's not Homeric.
There's also such a good, because I have the physical copy, I read all the little interview thingies in the back of the book. And I did find that Madeline Miller says that the heel bit is not in the Iliad. She makes a little Easter egg reference to that where Paris, when he's about to shoot him, is but I've heard that you have to shoot him in. And Apollo's shut up, just shoot him in the heart.
He's just a man. Yeah.
Okay, that is a great place to start. What the hell? I low-key thought...
Yeah, let's start at the very end of the book.
Not what I mean, but I mean the accuracy, right? If, somebody a little more traditionalist read this book, they could be it's so inaccurate. And I thought you were going to say, actually, it is so accurate. But what is accurate? It's the Iliad. We're not talking about, super defined history anyway. So tell me more. Just tell me more. Go off, Queen.
I mean,
classics.
Up until the 1800s, everyone just assumed that the Trojan War was completely fabricated.
I didn't know that either.
A scholarly community had not discovered the ruins of Troy. They thought Troy
and they are in Turkey, right?
They are in Turkey.
She references Anatolians.
And even when we're looking at the ruins of Troy, and I believe that it's Troy 6A. I could be super wrong.
So however, it's Troy 6.0.
Yeah, there's versions.
Troy Sequoia has been updated to Troy Big Sur. My Silicon Valley is showing. Ew. So Troy
So
6A, they
there
found it, and they were like,
was a
this
destruction,
existed.
was a massive destruction of the city of Troy that lines up chronologically with the 1200 BC timeline of when the Trojan War would have happened. Also, like, it could have been other things, and since we don't have like firsthand account of that time period, there's really no way to say what happened.
Like, they didn't find the horse, is what you're telling me.
No. Yeah, there's no like evidence any of this happened. Also, like, Greek gods aren't real. Like,
What?
this is
I didn't know
purely fiction.
that.
So we enter the world of this version of the Achilles story with Patroclus exiled. He goes to Thia.
You said
Are you about
Patroclus?
to comment? It's Patroclus.
Obviously, I am. I said Patroclus in my head.
I had to look it up. The narrator said Patroclus, and it is technically Patroclus. So the first thing I want to talk about, specifically about the gay part of this, right? What I found super interesting and fun is the way that he is clearly gay.
Who's he?
Patroclus. In the way that him as a child is talking about other boys, right? Like, his physical descriptions of people are super horny.
Yeah, he's like the tight muscles and the, his taut silhouette. But
Cathedral.
yeah, wasn't it? Who was it? Hector. That he's like
Hector.
his cheekbones. No, they were like a temple cornice or something. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
He goes on like a diatribe about like a man's V line on his abs. And I'm like, girl. Like, damn.
It's true.
But like, as a young gay boy, like, when you don't have the language to explain gay, because like we grew up in a time and place where gay was fine. We were very fortunate in that way.
No, yeah, definitely.
My family,
agree.
like, I came out in 7th grade, as I'm sure like people who know me remember, because that was
Indeed.
psycho. But like, I did not have a frame of reference at that time that like coming out was a problem. I was just like, oh, that boy's cute. Because that's how the girls were saying. And then the boys would talk about the girls being cute. And I'm like, well, I think that boy's cute. And people were like, what? And I'm like, oh.
Wait, did I say that aloud?
This might be a problem. But like,
exactly.
He doesn't have the language to explain that it's like, I'm having these feelings towards other boys, which makes me gay. So he's just living his life being gay and liking boys. And like, I related to that on such like a personal level because it was the same thing. I like didn't understand that like being gay was a problem because that was never talked about at my house. Like, not that being gay wasn't talked about. It was that it was never talked about like negatively.
Yeah, that's a really cool connection because I agree that like the way Patroclus, the way he's portrayed is very relatable to like, the modern gay experience because even though he doesn't face, well, the modern gay experience for many, lucky folks like us, but like even though he doesn't face a crippling level of like bigotry or a knowledge that like this way he is going to like ruin him or something, he's still faces a certain level of like growing pains and it affects his personality like in terms of masculinity, but also like this is a super patriarchal world and like you also have to go to war and battle. What does that mean for him? And I definitely identified with him a lot. He has this like kind of gay sad boy character that I was like, felt that way in middle school and high school. You know what I mean? Where you're just kind of like a little more shy and introverted, especially like gay sad nerd boy. He was like, I do not want to learn the arts of war. But yeah, so that's a really cool connection.
Well, he talks about a little bit because obviously the idea of two men being together in Greece was not like a foreign concept.
Yeah, and like, I love how she captures the diversity of opinions and backgrounds. Like it's not like men always man and have this companion. Like it's not like super cut and dry. It's like certain people like Odysseus are very hip about it, but then there's still reason for Patroclus. There you go, you got me. For Patroclus to be like, "Ooh, no, we don't," and then Odysseus like, "It'd be fine if you did." And then you have Pyrrhus come along, who was raised on like, well, he was raised by the gods, but like he's very threatened, like his masculinity is threatened by the idea that his dad, you know, had a male lover, that the love of his life was a man. And then you have Briseis, who's like, if you get captured by the Trojans, don't tell them you're gay. Like, oh, maybe the Trojans don't have the same attitude as the Greeks do. So that was super interesting. It just always kept me on my toes in terms of the world building, you know? It felt so real, like easy to bite into.
Patroclus talks about it too, where it's this idea of, while the idea of two men being together in this way is not necessarily like frowned upon, it's the who's the top and the bottom that they care about.
Does he say that in the book? Because he kind of says like, this is for boys, and then you eventually have to like make
he
babies,
talks about
right?
like, he's like, our people are like a conquering people, where
he insinuates it very strongly.
So he's like, our people are a conquering people, and so they don't really care who you're.
I remember now, but
in his words, like, it's seen negative to have another man conquer you.
Yeah.
Which, in my brain, I read as top and bottom.
Well, definitely. He's obviously going to be in Achilles' shadow, you know, like innuendo and sort of subtext to this idea of like, who's the dominant one or the alpha one, or, you know what I mean? Which comes up in straight relationships and straight dynamics, as well as evidenced by Vertical's 50 Shades of Grey. You know, like every romantasy book now, like, you know, like everybody thinks about this.
Yeah.
Just in different ways.
Rivalry all the time. That's all everyone ever talks about.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so the ancient Greek gays, they were not gay the way that we talk about being gay, right? They were, obviously, but like this idea culturally of like gay marriage was not a thing. But if you were, you know, bumping uglies with a dude, it wasn't the like
uglies.
The puritanical culture around relationships as we understand them today just like didn't exist. There is dialogue from the time, particularly Plato, which talks about whether or not Achilles was the dominant or the submissive person in the relationship. And
I mean, we kind of know what Madeline Miller thinks. She doesn't exactly come out, but Patroclus,
we know what Madeline Miller
thinks.
Such
a sad boy. He's just like, oh, I stood in the corner and like watched him shine. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Bottom vibes.
And Achilles is clearly the dominant person in the relationship in this book.
Right.
What's interesting is the way that the conversation happens from a classics perspective is
one more thing, if I can interrupt. One more thought. And
Please.
It's interesting how in the modern world, I feel compelled to add, and just because Patroclus is like the sad boy, kind of like eclipsed, less dominant one in the relationship, that doesn't mean he's not the top. But I imagine for the ancient Greeks, it would mean he wasn't the top, because this was this whole like masculine relationship partnership that all of the subtext lived on top of.
Even modern, right? We all know
people still go there, but like we understand that like you can't make assumptions.
We still have this modern day preconceived notion that like,
yes, you're so right. You're so right.
Equals top, small and artsy equals bottom. Like
you're so
this is the world that we've lived in for apparently thousands of years.
And we inherited it from these people, which is so crazy and cool. That's why we're into classics.
Well, we inherited it from the heterosexuals. It's their fault.
That's true too.
Straight people did this to us. I mean, how many times in Will and Grace back in the day was the conversation about like, oh, who's the woman? Like, who's the woman in the relationship? Fun fact, neither of us are the women. That's kind of the point.
Anyway, back to Homer.
Well, so
you were saying
in that time when we're, you know, the Patroclus and Achilles relationship, even then the conversation was Achilles is clearly the more dominant person in this relationship and therefore is the dominant person in their sexual relationship. But because there was no real established and accepted idea of like homosexual love, all of the like same-sex relationships were done in the idea of like mentor-mentee. right? Like they would have what they referred to as pederasty, which we would refer to as pedophiles.
Yes.
Which is an older man takes on like a younger boy as a mentee, and they would have their version of sex, which is rubbing your dick between the thighs. Like it wasn't penetrative,
I
but it
didn't
was
know that.
part
I
of
thought they were
like,
actual pedos.
well, they are, but
I
like,
mean, okay, to be fair, you're quite right. But
also, who's to say what they were actually doing, right? Like, were they having penetrative sex? Probably. We don't know. We weren't
yeah.
there. The frame of reference that we have for this information is done through like this historical context that we don't have a good understanding about what actually happened because we weren't there 3,000 years ago. But so on one
Good
hand, you
reminder.
have the camp of people who are like, Achilles is clearly the top because he's big, strong, jock boy. But the other people are saying that isn't how this works. And this is, again, the writing of the time back in like Plato, Aristotle days. They were like, that's not how this works because technically, canonically, Patroclus is older.
Huh.
So their whole thought process of who is going to be the dominant one in the relationship had nothing to do with personality type or the size of your biceps. It had everything to do with age. Plain and simple.
Talk to me about the part of the story where Achilles is hidden on the island, which I forget what it's called, and he's hidden as one of the maidens for like months because Thetis hides him there. That feels so random that it must have come from the original story. And does that like imply something about Achilles? Because I know they had this idea of beauty as well as like boy-like beauty, you know, coming from that whole like pederasty idea. And what's it called? You know, like this feminine, like if a man is beautiful, it's because he looks feminine, you know, and it's totally separate from a sort of masculine beauty that comes with power, as is kind of this like bearded, like macho man form of handsome that we have today.
So Thetis, when the Trojan War's kicking off and Odysseus is trying to like pimp out the youth to die in Troy, Thetis takes Achilles and throws him into Skyros.
Yes,
which is
that
the
what
island
the place was called.
where Achilles is hidden. And Patroclus gets on the boat, the like merchant vessel that he like goes to Achilles' dad and is like, please, sir, help me, in his like supplication pose. Goes there and he finds Achilles dressed up like a girl, which is funny.
He's like,
it is funny.
Didn't see this coming.
He's secretly married to
Didymea is how I said it in my mind, but once again,
Didymea. We're going to go with Didymea
about this. Great.
He's secretly married to this girl, and they produce a child, despite the fact that her father, who is housing Achilles, has no idea that Achilles is a boy. Which
didn't that change in Madeline Miller's version? I feel like he knew.
This is Madeline Miller's version. He does not know that Achilles is a boy.
And I assume Thetis had put some kind of spell or glamour on him because, like, I mean, come on.
Hoping so.
How good can your drag be?
Thank you! Girl, you got that cut crease? Are you like full contour? Like,
you got that cat
He
eye?
might be real pretty, but he's still a 17-year-old boy. Like,
yeah,
I've seen plenty of 17-year-old boys in like bad drag at like high school talent shows growing up. I don't care how pretty you are. If you're a 17-year-old boy, especially if you're Achilles, if you're like 17-year-old jock boy, you're telling me that you throw him in a toga and like pull his hair up in like a snatched ponytail and all of a sudden you think he's a girl? Please, no.
And canonically, there were no tighty whities. So
he's just freeballing.
I mean,
like that. She's swagging. Like, I don't understand.
And he's dancing on stage.
And
like
he's dancing.
Flitting and flying.
Yeah. Just
flopping.
Balls clacking. Yep. Like that thing from the tech museum. Just like.
That was such a deep cut. I hate it.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Then in the book, when he has sex with what's her face that starts with a D, like he talks about like he talks about how he didn't like it. right? Like he had sex with her twice and didn't enjoy it. And so like that's sort of where we get this
Uh-huh.
foundation from a modern perspective of like he's gay.
Thoughts about this, about where you went with this. One, it is interesting if that is indeed the way we think about that choice narratively that Madeline Miller made. It's kind of funny to me that like that's where she drew the line, because Achilles is such a non sympathetic character in so many ways and cannot be judged by modern standards of a relationship or a person.
No,
Because he's just
toxic.
like very
So
toxic.
toxic.
And but with that said, but we're not going to have him cheat on Patroclus and like it. Oh, that would be too far. The other thing that it makes me think of is, well, it makes sense narratively because their whole vibe of their whole relationship is just like, we are bound to one another. And I think she really is motivated, or was motivated writing by this idea of like the destined star-crossed lovers. Like there's not really anything that seriously comes between them. I mean, interpersonally, besides like the war. But there's no point where
Yeah.
they're like really in love with someone else and like really doubting that they can be together. This is not that kind of romance. And even when they meet as kids, and this is interesting because I was reading this book, doing my reread through the lens of, since I read it and loved it and cried like 10 times and saw myself as the gay sad boy in Patroclus, I realized that like several people that I spoke to, usually straight women our parents' age, told me, yeah, it was fine. And I was like, what's just fine about it for them? I want to read this. And I think what it might be is the fact that their romance is so, like, it's straight as an arrow, like, which I think is
Yeah.
very appealing, but it's
Yeah.
just, there's not a big, like, wooing process where it's like, does he, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
they're just destined for each other. They love each other from the first time they see each other,
yeah.
and they're partners for life. And that's just like how Madeline Miller decided to play this. So in that sense, the Didomea choice of like, I was forced to and I didn't like it, makes sense. And much more importantly, what it really makes sense for to me is the B plot, if you want to call it a B plot, because it kind of is the A plot. It's the thing that Madeline Miller is bringing to this, besides the gayness that is like not canonically in the Iliad or Aeneid. The like plot of Patroclus versus Thetis, and the whole idea of like, is he a god or is he a man? Is he going to be remembered as a warrior? Is he going to be remembered as a person? And that I think is the most impactful thing in this. And the fact that Thetis was like, this was like a chess move of hers to like hide Achilles from Patroclus, and just like a chess move of hers. It's like very necessary for that thread,
Yeah, and when we talk about like the relationship between Patroclus and Thetis, the like toxic mother-in-law, hilarious.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to use that trope,
I mean, that's what it is, right? Like,
I
you're
guess.
not good enough for my son. I'm gonna throw him onto this island of rocks to get him away from you. And then she
That's so
like
true.
blackmails her son into marrying and having sex with this frankly annoying girl. But does it because she tells Achilles, if you do this, if you have sex with this girl, I will tell Patroclus where you are. And then she doesn't. Like, he follows through with it. He holds up his end of the bargain. And then Patroclus arrives at this island that he was able to find him on.
And he's like, I supplicated your dad with the pose. And that was how he did it.
Yeah.
What?
Because I grabbed your dad by the chin and the knee. And I said, give me a boat, old man.
And
like,
it was intimate. And he couldn't say no.
And
Daddy
it was
couldn't say
gross
no.
and weird.
Exactly. But probably
so he shows up
historically
and
accurate.
Achilles thinks that the reason why he's there is because he did this thing, because he had sex with this woman. That's why Patroclus was able to find him. And Patroclus has to be like, no, actually, like, your dad told me.
And none of that is in the Iliad or Aeneid, to be clear, which is
not even a little bit. Completely fabricated.
But I love it. I love it.
Oh, same.
Because I love that B plot. I also am laughing because the trope is so obviously there. And it is a trope that I made a list while I was reading of gay tropes that are honored in this book and gay tropes that are not in this book, because there's a lot that are missing, which I kind of enjoyed.
Love.
Like, it doesn't really follow all of the tropes. It kind of frees you from them in some ways. But I didn't even notice that this like mother-in-law being like, no, he's going to marry a woman kind of trope is in there.
Yeah.
because I'm such a fantasy reader. And in the same way, Joseph, you texted me when I was in the middle of the book and you were like, well, Achilles is the toxic jock that we all know. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, but he's half god, though. Like, I'm literally reading it through the lens of he does what every Greek god does. He he projects onto some random mortal and really cares for that person and is a complete sociopath with everyone else and just doesn't get it.
But
And
in the modern context, when we're reading through it in this like 2026 lens, he's the toxic DL jock.
well, but not DL. That trope is not in it. He, more so than Patroclus, is like, I am like happy to be like, everybody should know about our partnership. And Patroclus is like, are you sure?
Yeah.
So that's one that she frees us from, really interestingly. But it's true. I mean, he's the toxic jock. Maybe not the toxic DL jock. It's a little subverted. But I'm just laughing that I didn't like see these things first. I instead was reading it from this fantasy lens of like, there are gods and then there are humans. And there's this tension between the ways that they think.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Well, it does project onto the gay trope of like the unreachable person. Like, again, in every vertical and in every romantasy, it's like, but he's a 1,000-year-old Fey Lord, but he's a really, really, really rich billionaire, but he's the alpha of the werewolf pack. It's like, but he's half god. Am I good enough? It's like the exact same thing.
Some TV show where like it's like a lesbian TV show and it's these two girls are in bed and they're role playing.
Oh no.
And they role play Twilight.
No.
And one of them goes, I know I'm just in high school and you're 400 years old. And just like the way when it's like, when it's put that way, you're just like, oh.
I told you that I saw Twilight for the first time recently, like this year. Did I not tell you that?
How did you not see it in high school?
I don't know. But I swear
all those theater girls were watching Twilight. Are you kidding me?
I don't know how, but I swear to God, Twilight invented verticals. That's my takeaway. I was like, all of this shit that is now in like all of these like romantasy and just like, you know, like every single trope.
Well, you know, Twilight happened because of
9/11. What?
Have you not heard of the Twilight 9/11 connection?
I thought it just happened because she was Mormon.
Well, so 9/11, right? Planes into towers, towers fall. Gerard Way, the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, sees the events of 9/11 and decides to form the band My Chemical Romance. Hearing the music of My Chemical Romance, Stephenie Meyer is inspired to write the book Twilight.
So that explains a lot about Twilight, I'll say.
Twilight exists because of 9/11.
You're reaching,
and
but I'll buy it.
The meme online is Bush did Twilight.
Stop! What were we even talking about? I think the real reason why it was so rewarding for me, and I loved reading the Thetis versus Patroclus kind of B-plot through the fantasy lens of just like, oh, she's a goddess and he's mortal, you know, and they have different values and they can't understand each other, is because it really stands in for, in this book, the idea of like, how will Achilles be remembered? Will he be remembered as a godlike hero warrior, or will he be remembered as a lover and a partner? And I am such a sucker for the trope of like kind of breaking the fourth wall with like, how will this be remembered? Like in Hamilton, when they go, who lives, who dies, who tells your story? I'm just like bawling. I am absolutely
you're crying.
I'm hook, line, and sinker for that trope. And so the way that she like wove that in, that's the question at the end, I was just like, oh my God, this is so good.
Well, and that is the conversation that happens when we are getting into the idea of like Greek honor as it's tied to who's the top and who's the bottom. That's when that comes up, is because Thetis says to Patroclus, like, do not dishonor him, basically. And he has an inner monologue where he talks about like, is that what she's referencing? Is the dishonor that, because Patroclus is like, how could I possibly dishonor this god? Like, what does she mean by that? Like, is it the fact that he's with me at all? Or is it like, we can be together as long as I'm the bottom?
Well, yeah, I did not even notice, but that makes sense.
Like that's when that conversation happens, is because she tells him like, because at a certain point, Thetis, when they're both still alive, because, you know, spoiler alert,
They
both of
die.
them die in
It's a
fantastical manner.
tragedy.
Like,
A Greek
yeah,
tragedy.
it's a tragedy. Sawi, before they both die, Thetis and Patroclus, it's like one of the few conversations that they have where like she's not just like, I hate you. Like they have like a couple conversations toward the end of their lives where they're actually like, there's a level of respect there. Like he has taken care of her son.
Yeah.
While she's off playing grandma with the rat bastard, like he's actually taking care of Achilles. And so
Yeah.
she's like, just don't dishonor him. Like you guys can be together, but like just don't do anything that will impact my plan of trying to turn Achilles into a god. Because she wants Achilles to go the way of Orion, where Orion is born immortal but becomes a god. She wants Achilles to become a god. And she realizes, and I wonder if that's part of like, because I was thinking, why would she want him to not go to Troy? Obviously, it's the prophecy, right? The prophecy that she's told is that he will gain immense fame, but he is going to die in Troy.
Yeah, but if he was going to be a god with her forever, if she succeeds, who cares? So that is interesting. Well, I think it's the little ways that only when you read really carefully, you realize that Thetis is a textured character, even though Patroclus doesn't see her that way. It's like maybe she is a little conflicted, and that's why she finally opens up very slightly at the end. She's like, oh, I want him to get glory, like that was the whole point, but I don't want my kid to perish. And so it's like, what is she doing? She doesn't know.
I don't know if it's that she doesn't want him to die. I mean, I'm hoping that it's that she doesn't want him to die, because otherwise that's messed up. I think it's more that she doesn't want him to die before he can become a god. If he goes to Troy and he dies, he can't become a god. What I think is interesting though is that when he gets there, in my head, him and I want to say Patroclus, him and Patroclus are not doing the things that the soldiers are supposed to do.
How so?
They're sort of doing the better versions of things. And the first and prime example is what happens with Briseis and the other women.
Well, yeah.
Right? They show up, they start raiding. He's a natural born killer. Congratulations, I guess. But like in the raids, at first they don't start taking women. In the first few raids, they drag the women to the wheat fields, take them, and then leave them.
Yes.
So they're not taking them prisoner. Briseis is the first girl that's taken to camp. And Patroclus turns to Achilles and is like, go get that girl. Like, you are clearly the number one warrior. You need to stake your claim. And I know what Agamemnon does to these girls, and I can't let that happen. So Achilles stands up and is like, hey, old man, like, that one's mine. I'm taking her. And all the men are like, yeah, go get it, boy. Gross. And then my absolute favorite part of the entire book is when they take Briseis back to the tent. And she's like,
I know what's coming. Oh, yeah.
And she's like, oh no, they're going to assault me. And he's like, no, really, it's not like that. And she's like,
she can't
and he's like,
understand any
no,
Greek, like
see?
the chick in Stargate.
He grabs Achilles by the tunic, shoves his tongue in his throat, and is like, no, we gay.
Universal language.
The universal, because what it reminded me of is like modern day when you're out and about in the world and you see a woman and you want to give her a compliment as a gay man.
Yes.
The way that you change your voice entirely to do so. Like, you can't go up and just be like, hey, that's a nice dress. Like, you look really good in that dress. Like, that's not the way. You have to be like, hey, girl, that dress is fierce. Like, you have to let her know very quickly that, like, you're not trying to be gross. Like, that was the vibe that I was getting. It was like, oh, we need to let her know that, like, she's not in any danger here. So we're just going to, like, make out a little bit. And then she's going to be like, oh, work, queen. Love is love.
I loved it.
Like,
10 out of 10.
It was the funniest part of the whole book.
No notes
so
whatsoever.
Good.
Homer could never.
Thank God. So we go through the Trojan War. 10 years pass because the only way that the war ends, based on the prophecy, is that Achilles needs to die. He dies in the Trojan War. That's the way it was prophesized. So the only way for the war to end is after Achilles is already dead. So if the prophecy as outlined is that he will die in the Trojan War, is the way that the prophecy is explained. If Achilles is still alive, the Trojan War cannot end.
So it's kind of his fault that everybody
it's
is
his
still
fault
fighting.
that it lasts for 10 years.
Yep.
And they talk about that, where
They
at
do
one
reference
point Odysseus is talking to Patroclus, and he's like, hey, I'm really happy for you guys that you were able to like rub your sticks together for another 10 years. Thrilled. However, like, I haven't seen my wife. I don't know if she's alive. And the only reason why we're still here is because your homeboy refuses to die. So, like, it'd be great if we could, like, speed that along.
Yeah.
But the only way for Achilles to die is if Hector dies. Because there's the other prophecy that says that Hector has to die first.
Mm-hmm.
The only soldier, apparently, who can kill Hector is Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if that's part of the prophecy or if it's just that, like, he's the only, like, boy strong enough to do it. But Achilles is unwilling to kill Hector because if Hector dies, Achilles dies. And Achilles is trying to get out of the war without dying.
Right. He's trying to
But it's
keep
not
the
gonna
prophecy.
happen.
Shocker. It's all
He's gonna die.
It's all very classified and Pokemon coded. He's stronger than him, so he has to kill him because he's Aristos the Chaon, and nobody else can do it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. But okay, what about the prophecy that is in this book that is the best of the Myrmidons will die before Achilles dies? And everybody's like, I'm so confused. Achilles is the best of the Myrmidons. That's her adding that, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure it's added, and I think it's specifically for the Briseis storyline. Because what we get is the prophecy that the best of the Myrmidons will die in the next, like, year or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then Briseis has that moment with Patroclus where she goes, like, you are the best of the Myrmidons. And then he goes on the chariot and does the thing. So, like, he knows in that moment. He doesn't ever talk about it in his internal monologue, but he knows the prophecy and he hears her say that and he thinks to himself,
do you think he knew, or do you think he was just being dumb?
I think he sacrificed himself.
Because
he goes
they
into
don't make that explicit.
She
doesn't make that explicit.
She doesn't make that explicit, but earlier in the book, when the prophecy about Achilles dying in the Trojan War becomes like a main focus, he has a moment in his internal monologue where he's like, well, I don't plan on living after Achilles is dead.
Yeah, but I don't think that means he knows he's going to die before. He's certainly prepared to die.
But that is earlier, right?
Yeah.
So that's him saying, like, I'm prepared to die when Achilles dies because I don't want to live in a world that Achilles doesn't live in. And then once he figures out the other prophecy, he's already committed to this idea of death. And he realizes that the only way to free the Greeks from the war is for Achilles to die. But the only way that Hector is going to die is if he dies, because he's the best of the Myrmidons. So I think he sacrifices himself. I do.
I don't. I think he would be too chicken to take himself away from Achilles, loving Achilles so much and being so whipped. I think, and knowing how Achilles would blame himself. I think the fact that they're so dumb that they didn't see this coming is why it was so satisfying to me as a Greek tragedy, because you're like, I don't want you to make this mistake, but you so deserve what's going to happen when you make this mistake.
No, I disagree. I think that they knew exactly what was happening. I think he got on the chariot because he wasn't supposed to go off the beach. He wasn't supposed to engage in combat. That is true.
He lost it. He lost the plot.
He did anyways. He did everything he wasn't supposed to do. I think he was doing it on purpose in order to speed the prophecy along.
And then he tried to climb the walls of Troy. Is that in the Iliad?
Yeah.
It's really insane.
City of Troy.
I was wondering. Yeah, that was insane. That was wild.
Yeah.
I kind of loved it,
I think he does it on purpose. I don't think that Achilles kills Hector on purpose. I think that is Achilles' rage, right? That is the
What do you mean he
main
doesn't kill Hector on purpose?
Well, I mean, no, I'm saying I don't think he kills Hector in order to speed the war along.
No, of course he does it because he's in a rage of revenge, and that's all he cares about.
Yeah, he's broken. The concept of Achilles' rage is Yeah. Achilles' rage is what the Iliad is grounded on. It is the most important part of the book, is the temperament of Achilles.
And it's the payoff
Like,
in
it's
this book.
the first line of the Iliad is about the Achilles' rage. It's, I mean, kind of a shame that all we know about Achilles is his ankle, because the whole
Exactly,
point of
supposedly.
Achilles, like, the lesson to be learned from the story of Achilles is about anger management, truly. Like,
Well, it's interesting. I mean, she
rage
could have.
will kill you.
Madeline Miller definitely had a soft spot for Achilles because she could have made him a lot more toxic. Like, he didn't have rage generally. Instead, this moment of rage was the payoff for this star-crossed lovers, like destined together, completely codependent, like partners for life, like woo mates relationship that these people have. And he has his pride, his hubris. She definitely goes into that when he refuses to fight anymore. But he doesn't have any other big rage moments. So it's interesting that, it works for me, but I didn't know that was the first line of the Iliad. And it definitely, even though Achilles is freaking not very sympathetic in this book, I still felt for him and still loved him because he's so in love with our boy, Patroclus. Can't do any wrong by him, but he's such a sociopath. He doesn't care if Briseis gets raped, which is like, he doesn't care that all the people are dying for the sake of his pride. But with that said, like, rage is not a common theme. It's really just like, I would do anything for Patroclus and I can't live without him. So, yeah,
this is my copy of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Because again,
it is beautiful.
I'm
You're
super
freaking
annoying
right.
and pretentious.
For the Spotify listeners, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. You can picture it.
So the first line of book 1 of the Iliad reads as follows: "Sing, O goddess, the anger of Achilles, son of Peleus, that brought countless ills upon the Achaeans." That is the first line of the
Right.
Iliad.
And when he was angry at Agamemnon, that is his anger as well. It was just a very different kind of anger.
Everything
it was not
is
murderous anger. It was stubborn, pride, hubris-based anger.
Yeah. Everything that Achilles does is motivated by anger.
Well,
canonically.
Canonically. In this book, so not. He's so calm. Like, he is the antidote to Patroclus's anxiety, Patroclus is like, will they force us apart? And Achilles is like, I won't let them. And there was nothing more to be said. Next paragraph.
Yeah.
And it's very cute. Again, I think this is why, like, some of the straight ladies were like, because it can be one-dimensional. But one of the tropes, again, like, that I really love the way this book has some gay tropes in it, but it really throws other gay tropes out the window and is like, you're not having that. This isn't that story. This book does not have even an iota, Greek reference, of the trope, of like unrequited love, like, oh, I am in love with the hot jock, and like, does he love me back as much? It is not a story of two people that are trying to figure out if they love each other back. It is like, they are together and it's them against their surroundings. And even in straight romance, that is very rare. And I think that's really refreshing, let alone in a gay romance. Yeah.
And that's sort of what, I mean, when I was talking last episode about, like, one of the reasons why I like this book is because it isn't, quote unquote, like, unnecessarily tragic. That's kind of what I'm getting at, where it's like, the tragedy of the relationship is not their romance. They just are living their lives. And then, yes, their lives are very tragic, but their lives together are not.
And I think that's why this book, like, so many, the whole gay community, like, freaking loved it. Every gay man that reads this book is like, wow, why is this so empowering? Like, there's so many, like, threads that, it's so well done.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the end. Towards the end of the book, I lost it, completely cried. And the first time I read it, the second that Patroclus dies, just tears to the end. Like, coughing, sniffling, holding back tears for the last hour of the book.
For me, Patroclus's death was so satisfying and kind of like beautiful. I mean, no death is beautiful, obviously, but it's like, as deaths go, it's so satisfying because it's like he finally gets to understand what it's like to be Achilles. And he's been this sad boy and kind of the beta in the relationship, whether that means like about masculinity or topping whatever you think or don't. He's been in Achilles' shadow his whole life, and he's been this sad sack character that as a gay man you totally relate with. And he finally has this moment, and you know, the little bit of conflict that comes between them, that dynamic of him being like, well, whatever Achilles wants to do, I can't deny him, you know, that dynamic is in their relationship. And he finally he like throws the spear and it hits home. Like, who was picked last in PE class doesn't like enjoy that fantasy? It's like he's gonna go out in a blaze of glory being a hero, which he never was. His boyfriend was always the hero. And so I was like, wow, he had this moment and he really like took the reins, kind of literally, even though there was a driver of the chariot, you know. And I was like, oh, this is kind of a beautiful, cool moment for his death, like for his last moment. Then when Achilles finds out and completely loses his that's when I was sobbing, because again, Achilles has been set up through this whole book to be this very calm, perhaps weirdly compared to the canon, but this very calm, like confident, like his confidence is so complete, nothing can threaten him, so therefore he's unflappable. And suddenly he completely loses his mind because he loved this person so much, and he realizes finally it's his fault that this has happened, which is like the crux of a Greek classical tragedy. I was just like, and that's when I sobbed. I was like, he's gonna realize he did this to the love of his life. I'm gonna sob. Like, and I did.
The whole last few chapters are just absolutely horrifically devastating. You have the death of Patroclus, Achilles losing his mind, chasing Hector down into a forest, killing him, and then for sport, dragging Hector's dead body by chariot, just for fun.
And Achilles
then you have Priam showing up.
Oh yeah, this part I cried hella hard at that part.
Priam showing up to being like, can you just like give me my son's body back? Like, I am grieving here. Like, I know we're enemies, but and he says like I'm sorry that my son killed your boyfriend, basically. Like,
yeah,
but we are enemies. This is war, and we have to have a level of respect. And what you're doing is disrespectful, and like I need this back. And like I think like that's the moment for Achilles where he realizes like, okay, I need to just take a breath.
That part gave me cathartic tears, like not happy tears, but satisfying tears, because I was like, oh my God, he was able to connect with the grief of this other person. And it's a moment where his humanity won out over his rage, as, you know, Homer focused on. And it was like, okay, he's not beyond hope. He's not lost. Like, this grieving father can be like, hey, you love someone and lost someone. Guess what? Me too. And he can be like,
yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I can rein it in. I was like, oh, you can be salvaged. But then I cried even more when Achilles was beefing with Thetis, because Thetis comes and she's like, you have lost your mind. I can't make you a god. I can't make you famous. This was all for nothing. And Achilles is like, guess what? What did you expect to happen when you set this all up so that my love of my life would die? You knew how much I loved him, so this is your fault. And Thetis low-key realizes it's her fault. And then it's Greek tragedy all over again, because you're like, oh my God, Thetis is going to realize that it's her own fault that she lost her son. And those moments where they realize it's their fault and grieve at the same time, it's just like, that is what slays me. And I was like, oh no,
realizes
now it's her
their
turn.
Fault, freaks out, and then she says, I'm glad he died.
Yeah, I mean, water under the bridge at this point.
Achilles.
But is he shocked by that? Was anybody shocked by that? I just saw that as
no, I wasn't shocked that she said it because she's a psychopath, but like, girl, that's an insane thing to say.
I feel like it's totally in line with everything she had said so far. But
yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened or that it's unrealistic, but it's still crazy.
The reality of Greek sea gods in actual history, of course.
Yes.
Realistic.
It's still an insane thing to say.
It's messed up.
She just gets very petty and like lashes out and is like, I'm glad that he's dead, and then leaves. Which is just like insane.
Yeah,
and
it
so
is
then
insane.
Okay, so Patroclus is dead. Achilles dies. Paris lets loose the arrow that Apollo guides, which we talked about already a
Which
little
is
bit.
not going to
That
heal.
like it hits him in the
We're
back.
not going to spoil the actual ending, right? Like we can leave that little bit of business about the afterlife and for readers.
I mean, we can if we want to, but I feel like at this point, if people have gotten this far, they've read the book. Or they're not going to.
I guess that's true. I don't know. Now we have a decision point. I kind of want to leave an Easter egg because I love not giving spoilers, but I also love giving spoilers.
Okay.
So I'm assuming you've read the book. So that's true. I don't know. Do we want to leave an Easter
Go read
egg,
the book,
or do you want to talk
everyone,
about
if you
it?
haven't. I kind of want to talk about it.
Okay, fine. Go. You want to summarize.
So,
I get it.
all of the story that we're talking about is being told by Patroclus's ghost. And that's his canon.
Oh.
The Patroclus ghost is canon because in the Iliad, Achilles is met by Patroclus in a dream after Patroclus dies.
In the Iliad or in the Odyssey? I thought he meets him in the underworld in the Odyssey.
In the Iliad,
okay,
Achilles is alive, and it's when in the Song of Achilles, it's when Patroclus is like, "You need to bury my body. I want to go to the afterworld."
Right, and he's whispering to Odysseus, and they don't make it clear that Odysseus has heard, but then Odysseus like tries to stand up for them. And there's another Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story moment where Odysseus, I bookmarked it, by the way, because I was like, this is so good. And it's about gayness. It's literally Madeline Miller making Odysseus break the fourth wall and be like, in the future, maybe it won't be okay to be gay. So we'll see how this story gets told. He says, fame is a strange thing. Some men gain glory after they die while others fade. What is admired in one generation is abhorred in another. We cannot say who will survive the Holocaust of memory. Who knows? Perhaps one day even I will be famous, more famous than you. Spoiler alert, nobody knows who Pyrrhus, Achilles' son, is, and Odysseus does become more famous than him. And I just got shivers reading it the first time. I got shivers reading it aloud.
So Achilles dies, and then Pyrrhus shows up. This little kid who is like, "You can't win the Trojan War without me. I'm 12." Like,
But I'm obviously built like a grown man, and I was raised by my mother underneath the ocean, like Stella from Great Expectations, raised to be the world's biggest.
Yeah, drinking honeyed wine and eating ambrosia. Congratulations. And then we speed run the rest of the Trojan War at this point. This is Madeline Miller's like, I got 15 more pages to finish this
and good
book.
For her.
And we are
who cares
going for it.
The Trojan horse
Pyrrhus
wasn't in
shows
Homer.
Up.
Goodbye.
The Trojan War ends. Pyrrhus leaves. He dies. He does, according to legend, he dies with a feud with Agamemnon children. It's a whole thing. So then, but while Pyrrhus is there, they're talking about the monument they're going to build to Achilles. Famously in Greek tradition, if you are buried in an unmarked grave, you cannot go to the underworld. In order to go to the underworld, your grave needs to have your name on it. I don't know why. That's just the way it works. So before Pyrrhus gets there, Odysseus follows what Achilles wanted, which is to have the ashes of Achilles and Patroclus mixed together. So their ashes are combined. Pyrrhus shows up and is like, okay, well, I don't want them buried together. And Odysseus is like, well, we can't really separate them anymore because they're all just bone ash at this point.
He's like, I have news for you. Guess who's in the urn? Sorry.
Bofa. Sawi.
Which, by the way, why did Pyrrhus learn to be homophobic being raised by the gods under the sea? Are the gods, like...
Who knows?
More homophobic than humans? I have one word for you. Ganymede.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
What's going on?
Probably it's just because Pyrrhus is the world's biggest boy. We hate him.
Huge bag of douche. Just the worst person you've ever met.
Yes.
So he shows up and he's like,
And bold of
Yeah.
Madeline Miller to be like, in the last 40 pages of this book, there will now be a villain, and it will be the villain you'll hate the most in your entire reading career. And I only have 40 pages to do it, and both my MCs have already died. That's kind of a flex. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. He's going to be 12 and the worst.
She cooked with that.
Funny.
She took no prisoners.
I don't know if it was like intentional, but it is hilarious. So they build the monument to Achilles. They put the ashes in there, but they don't mention Patroclus at all.
They don't write his name on the tomb.
No. Time passes. An unspecified amount of time passes. Enough time passes that when Thetis shows back up and the ghost of Patroclus is wandering around, at that point, Pyrrhus has already died. And we have this beautiful conversation between Thetis and Patroclus where they're looking at the monument and it's all images of Achilles at war.
Mm-hmm.
He's having this conversation about like, is this how you want your son to be remembered?
Mm-hmm.
There were so many other wonderful qualities about him. He was kind. He was thoughtful. He played the lyre really well. Like, there are so many other things that we can remember him for, but all he's going to be remembered for is his murder.
And Thetis finally accepts
that he did.
And Thetis finally has a moment where she accepts that this person loved her son. And she's like, wow, we have that in common. Holy shit.
So she, with her witchy sea powers, inscribes Patroclus's name onto the Achilles monument. And then we smash cut to black as he is seeing an outline of Achilles in the underworld. And I lose my mind.
Reunited in death endings, reunited in the underworld endings. I hate this trope, but she did it so well. I was just like, how can you complain? Because, I mean, now that we're spoiling it full send, like sending it, like, okay, you read this knowing it's going to be a tragedy, and it is, but somehow she gives us this happy ending by holding us back from this thing we didn't even realize we want, of them being able to be together because of these like canonical magic system rules of the Greek afterlife. And you're like, oh my God, in the last 40 pages, I realized this whole story has been leading up to me wanting so bad for them to be able to be together in the afterlife. And this is a Greek mythology book. That's the magic system. It's not some thing that they throw in, like, you know, this is like real. They're going to be together forever if they can get this. And then also, like, it's kind of like the tragedy they've been setting up. She has been setting up this conflict of like, will Achilles' side as a god and a killer dominate his life and define his life, or will his side as a lover and a partner to this person who loves him dominate his life? And at the very end, she's like, guess what? This is kind of a tragedy because you, dear reader, only know Achilles based on all the people he killed and his rage, which is who he was in Homer. But because you've read this book, and because I, who spent 10 years writing this book, a classics major, have brought this gay-ass story to life, now this can be a comedy because we have honored this other side of Achilles today in 2026. And the reader, the fourth wall is like subtly broken without doing it, without her doing it on page. And it's just like, so genius.
It's a masterwork. I mean, the more that I've talked about it, the more that I've realized, like, it might be one of the best books in the past 50 years to be released. It is so well done as a piece of literature, but it's also so well done from like a historical perspective, and the way that it handles like smashing modern concepts with like ancient text and recontextualizing this story is so phenomenal. Like, it reminds me, it's different, but it reminds me of like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, where
Yeah, I
like
know what you mean. It's so different, but I do know what you mean. It
it's
updates
so
something that you
different.
can't quite understand in C2 anymore. Shakespeare's a genius. We love him, but it's really a
Yeah.
reach to say that with a
Yes.
very well done Shakespeare production, we can consume that the way they consumed it when it came out. It's become a primary
Yes.
historical source now. It just enough time passes and it's too late. So how do you
Yes.
update that and actually
Yeah.
allow you to consume it the way we book addicts like to consume a story?
Yes.
You have to do a full send update. And
Yes.
yeah,
And she did that.
exactly. And I was
And
going to say,
she didn't just retell the Iliad. She changed it enough in a way that's that's a great way of putting it. It's consumable by a modern audience. It is a text that otherwise like people in 2026 are not sitting down to read the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Aeneid.
no, not the way we're
But
sitting down
it's
to
a
read, like, Don't Let Him In, you know?
no.
No,
Like, but we are able to sit down and read Song of Achilles and get this beautiful story and these wonderful characters that she didn't really change all that much.
exactly.
Homer's characters are phenomenal. And she just took them and made them modern and made them understandable. She didn't
Yeah,
set
she
it
didn't even
in
make them
Venice
modern. She
Beach.
just made them relatable to us. She made them novel characters as per the format of the modern novel. That's what she did.
The way that the Greeks hearing Homer would have been able to relate to them in their time.
Exactly. And get them
And
and be
that
like,
is
these are the tropes.
the yes, that is the genius of this book. If you have not read it and you're listening to this, it's worth reading.
If you haven't read it,
Please don't.
sorry. We truly spoiled
Yes.
it, but like read it anyway. Who cares? We
Like
already all had the Iliad spoiled for us anyway before going in. Just read it.
I
It's
I
so
have
good.
read this book twice and I will say I probably actually enjoyed it more on the second read.
Mm,
Like just because you know how the book ends and you know what happens doesn't mean you're not going to enjoy this beautiful story and the way that it's written. If you haven't read
totally.
it,
It's all craft, which we didn't even go into, but like there's a switch from
go
present to
read.
past tense when they die, which is like a completely unhinged.
Yeah.
Like it's very clever.
Yeah.
Not that it's like
Yeah.
literary fiction where you have to be like, have to be taking notes, but it's
Yeah.
so beautifully done.
So if you haven't read it, go read it. The link is in the bio for the affiliate links. Again, for the month of May and June, any purchase through the affiliate link, a portion of those proceeds is going to go to Fabulosa Books in the Castro in San Francisco. They are actually sponsoring a wonderful nonprofit that provides queer literature to areas of the US that the literature likely would not get to otherwise. So we will be making the donation that we will be making will be going towards that nonprofit, which like packages up queer books and sends them to like middle of nowhere, Alabama, which is a great cause. Fabulosa is one of the co-founders of that. So we are going to be, for the months of May and June, if you purchase through the affiliate links, that's where that money is going to be going to. We're going to announce our July recipient soon. We already have it selected, but again, for May and June, it's going to be going towards Fabulosa Books nonprofit that they support, which is the organization that sends the queer books out. We're very, very excited about it for Pride, obviously. So for the month of July, Ben, this is your recommendation. So
We are going to read The Dead of Summer by Ryan LaSala, one of my absolute favorite authors. He is also super gay, and all of his books are queer books. They're also queer YA, so we can give it a rest on who Homer thinks is topping and who Homer thinks is bottoming. This is we're gonna turn down the spice, but this is also like a fantasy. He classifies them as horror. I don't know. I'm not a horror reader. I think they're creepy fantasy. But it is so good. It has cosmic horror elements. It has amazing summer beach read tropes. It is the first in a 2-part series. And when I read it, I was like clawing at the walls for somebody to discuss my theories with about like what is going to happen and what the twist was actually about and all of this other BS. So I'm freaking excited to be able to pod about it.
So once again, can you give us the name of the book?
It is The Dead of Summer by Ryan LaSala. LA space SALA.
So it's going to be available as of the release of this in our bookshop.org storefront.
Yes.
So if you purchase through the affiliate link in the video, a portion of that proceeds will be going to the nonprofit that Fabulosa promotes. And yeah, that video will be going live on July 7th at 9 a.m. on YouTube as well as Spotify. And I'm sorry to be this person as I look you straight in the camera, but just subscribe. And then if you want to also just head over to Spotify and, follow us there and leave us a 5-star review. That would also be super helpful.
I like the look
we
at
also
the camera
have
idea.
3 social medias that we've started at this point. We have a TikTok, we have an Instagram, and we have a Facebook page for all of you boomers out there who are still on Facebook. We got you.
You guys, subscribe. I don't know what he'll do if you don't.
I do. I'm going to find you.
I just wanted to look at the camera like that. It was really dramatic. It was a very Blair Witch Project.
I'm going to find you.
Okay.
And I'm going to burn down your house.
Just subscribe to the podcast. Oh, yeah. Mic reveal.
Helps everybody. Grows the economy.
I probably shouldn't have screamed into the mic.
Quote.
Yeah. We did
Probably
it,
not.
John.
No. We did it.
Way
Just subscribe.
expired. Should we sign off with, and we're gay and panicking? No? No?
No. I know. I'm sorry.
I should have known you wouldn't have gone for that. This was
There's
gay
a certain
panic.
level. I'm just...
I mean, there was a whole bit of business with you and Jesse being like, how do we sign off? And you kind of melted down. So trying to avoid that, but I'm happy to go with